Okay, so this video is factoring trinomials. A trinomial means it has three terms. So that's the definition of a trinomial. So like x squared is a term, 5x is a term, minus 36 is a term. So this is a trinomial. So there's several different ways to multiply trinomials. I will show you two of the most common ones that are used. And then you can go with whichever one feels best or whichever one you might recognize from what your Algebra 1 teacher taught you. So the first way we can multiply trinomials is using the box method or the area model. It's kind of called both names, but it means the same thing. So what you do is you ask yourself, what two numbers multiply to AC and add to B? And when we talk about AC and B, A is the number in front of x squared, B is the number in front of x, C is the constant. So in this case, A is 1, B is 5, and C is negative 36. So we are looking for what two numbers multiply to AC. A is 1, C is negative 36. 1 times negative 36 is negative 36. And they need to add to B. B is 5. So you can list all your pairs that multiply to 36, or sometimes you may just know in your head which one it is. But if I'm stuck, what I do is I list out all my different ways I can multiply to 36. Now keep in mind, if it's multiplying to a negative, it's going to be one positive, one negative. So think about that when you're looking at your pairs. So I know it's going to be something with 4 and 9. And since I want it to add to a positive 5, it's going to have to be a negative 4, because negative 4 plus 9 is 5. And negative 4 times 9 is negative 36. Okay, when it is just x squared, you can just go straight to your answer. You can write x minus 4 because of the negative 4, and x plus 9 because of the 9. It's positive, that's why we did plus. Now, the only time you can just jump straight to writing your factors is when it begins with only x squared, when the a value is 1. If that number is different, we're going to have to take a different approach. So let's try it again right here. So we're asking ourselves what multiplies to AC, and that's 1 times 9 is 9, and it needs to add to B. B is negative 6. So things that multiply to 9 are 1 times 9 and 3 times 3. Keep in mind, if it multiplies to a positive 9, then it has to either be a positive times a positive or a negative times a negative. Now, if I add these, this makes 10. 1 times 9 is 1 plus 9 is 10, and 3 plus 3 is 6. So that's not quite where I want to be. They need to be negative because it has to add to a negative 6. So negative 1 and negative 9 add to negative 10. That's not it. Negative 3 and negative 3 add to negative 6. Okay, so we found our two numbers. They multiply to 9 and they add to negative 6. Because the a value is 1 in front of x squared, you can just jump straight to writing it as x minus 3 times x minus 3. Or since that's the same parentheses twice, you can write it as x minus 3 squared. Okay, let's look at C. C has an a value that's not 1, so this is a great time to show you some different strategies. So we still start out the same. We still say what multiplies to AC, which A is 10, C is negative 2, so that's negative 20 when you multiply them. And it has to add to B. The B value is in front of the x right here. It's 1. So just like we had been in the past, we're doing all the things that multiply to 20. And I'm just going to go ahead and write them down as positives. We'll worry about the negatives or the positives in a minute. So 1 times 20, 2 times 10, 4 times 5. Now, if it needs to multiply to negative 20, one of the numbers must be negative. So you can look at it first with those numbers negative. And if that doesn't work, try the same pairs, just make the other number in the pair negative. So which one does work is negative 4 and 5. It multiplies negative 20 and it adds to 1. Now, because the a value is not just 1, it's not just 1x squared, we have to use a different method. So I'm going to stop and show you the two methods, then you can write down whichever one clicks with you. So first, here's the box method or the area method. So what you do with the box or the area method is you put your first number, this 10x squared, goes in the top left box. The last, the C value, goes in the bottom right box. And then the two numbers you have, negative 4 and 5, they go in these two boxes. You put them with x. So it doesn't matter which one goes where. I'm going to do 5 here and -4 here. Now the reason why this works is because 5x minus 4x is 1x, so you're not really changing the value because it still makes 1x, you're just changing how it looks. Now what you do is you take on this top row, take the GCF out. What can come out of 10x squared and 5x is 5x. You're basically undoing multiplying with the box method. All right, on this row, the greatest common factor between 4x and 2 is 2. Because this box is negative, you need to pull out a -2. So pull that out. And then up here, you're looking for this column. What comes out of 10x squared and -4x? They're both divisible by 2x. And if you just do a quick check to see if you're doing it right, 2x times 5x is 10x squared. So far, so good. And 2x times -2 is -4x. That's how I know, okay, I'm on the right track. Now out of this column, what comes out of 5x and -2? They don't have anything in common, so just a +1. Because this box, the top right box, is positive, that's why I know it's a +1 coming out. Now do a quick check. 1 times 5x is 5x, so that's good. 1 times -2 is -2. So these are your two factors, this 5x minus 2 and 2x plus 1. That's what you write down in your parentheses. That is the factored form. Now, real quick, let me just show you another way, going from the point where we had figured out that these were our two numbers. So going from that point, take 10x squared, and then instead of this plus x, write the -4x and the 5x. I'm going to put the 5x first. The reason I opt to put the 5x first is because it is just similar to a 10x squared. It just makes me feel like, oh, that's doable. So I go ahead and put that first. And really, this is not any different because if you look right here, 5x minus 4x is still just x. So it's honestly the same thing. I have 10x squared, I have x, and I have -2. So I haven't changed like the value of the expression. I just have changed how it looks. Now, what you do is you factor out of each group the greatest common factor. So what can come out of this first group is 5x. So if you were to factor out a 5x, you would have 2x plus 1. And so picture if you took 5x times 2x, that's 10x squared. 5x times 1, that's 5x. All right, so far so good. If this first number is a negative, factor out a negative number. If it's a positive, factor out a positive. So what can come out of 4x and 2 is just 2. And I want to pull out a -2. So you're factoring out a -2. Which you can show like as division if it helps you. So -4x divided by -2x is 2x, and -2 divided by -2 is 1. So I do a quick distributing to see, did it work? -2x times 2x is -4x. -2 times 1 is -2. So that worked. And what you're looking for is, are the parentheses the same? They are 2x plus 1. If they're not the same, we have a problem. So they're the same. So one of the factors is 2x plus 1. And the other factor is right here. It's 5x minus 2. And that's the same answer as I had gotten right here. These are totally the same. It's just two different methods.